Creating an expense report in SFS using a blank report. An expense report is a tool employees use to be reimbursed for travel or other out-of-pocket expenses and account for state travel card transactions. It is a recommended best practice to create, submit, and account for travel card transactions on an expense report in SFS within 10 days of completed travel. Click SFS Applications. Note that all items marked with an asterisk must be completed. Remember to save periodically as SFS times out after 20 minutes. Click SFS Financials. Click Employee Self-Service. Click Expense Report under Employee T&E Center. Click Create. Collapse the menu pagelet. Click the Minimize button. This action gives a larger screen for better viewing. This is the expense report entry page. It is used to create and submit expense reports. The Quick Start list allows the user to select the most efficient creation method. Click the Quick Start drop-down arrow. Choose a blank report. Click Go. Click in the description field. The description should be specific enough so the expense report can be identified quickly. This field has a 30-character limit. Do not use typographical characters. Click in the comment field. Enter the justification or purpose of the trip. Additional comments can be added to this field. This field has a 10,000 character limit. Choose your business purpose. Click the drop-down arrow. Here is where you will select your purpose of travel. The reference field can be used for agency references as necessary. This is an optional field. Click in the DOB approval code field. If a DOB approval code was obtained for this trip, it must be entered in the DOB approval code field. The default location is where you traveled. Type in the state's 2-letter designation and the first few letters of the city you visited. Click the magnifying glass. Note that the BSC may deny your report if this field is not populated. Select the correct location. Based on the default location selected, per diem amounts auto-populate and hotel rates will be validated. If travel is out of state, click the Out of State box here. The official station field will be used to identify the location the user is officially assigned to, regardless of work location. The information in this field will auto-populate based on your employee profile. The work location field is used to identify an alternate work site if not working from your official station. Enter your travel start date by clicking on the calendar next to the From field. Clicking on the calendar will give you a pop-up box to choose your travel dates. Note that the BSC may deny your report if the travel from and to dates are not populated. Enter your travel end date by clicking on the calendar next to the To field. Clicking on the calendar will give you a pop-up box to choose your travel dates. Click the From and To box to enter your normal work hours. Time can be entered in 24-hour format or 12-hour format, followed by AM, PM. The BSC may deny your report if these fields are not populated. Click on Accounting Defaults. The Accounting Defaults page displays the chart field coding for the traveler. Some or all of the necessary fields may auto-populate. Verify the coding is correct or alter as necessary. If you are unsure of the coding, check with your budget office. Click OK. The details section of the page is used to enter all expenses for the trip. Each line is a separate expense. Click the expense type drop-down arrow corresponding to the first expense. All available expense types are listed here. Find the appropriate selection for the expense and click the item. Next, we will enter the expense date and the amount spent. Click on the calendar and choose the date that indicates the date you made the expense. Click in the amount field corresponding to the expense and enter the expense amount. Click the payment type drop-down arrow. There are three payment types: AP prepaid, which indicates an accounts payable voucher will be used to pay the merchant; personal funds, which indicates an out-of-pocket expense; and travel card, which indicates the use of the travel card. Select the appropriate payment type for the expense. The billing type, while containing an asterisk, does not have any functionality. It can be ignored. Click the detail link. It is recommended to click the detail link for every expense entered. There may be additional required information for the item that can only be entered via the detail link. The expense detail page allows you to enter additional information about a particular expense. Fill in the description field as needed and enter the appropriate information for the starred items. Note that the fields that appear on this page can be different based on the expense type. Click Check Expense for Errors. This Check Expense for Errors button will check only this expense for possible errors, not the entire expense report. There are no errors in this expense. Click Return to Expense Report. You can add additional rows to your expense report by clicking the plus icon or clicking Add New Expense. Enter the desired number of blank rows into the Rows to Add field. Click OK. Notice that one blank line has been added. Scroll down and click Save for later. After you've clicked Save for Later, the computer will automatically generate a 10-digit report ID number. This will be your reference number for the expense report you have created. Click Attachments. All of your receipts for the trip must be attached to the expense report via a scanned document. The BSC may deny your report if receipts are not attached. Receipts that are required include lodging, auto rentals, airfare, long-distance bus and train, non-overnight receipted meals, and travel expenses that were over $75, including gas, parking, taxis, and subway. Expenses that do not require a receipt include travel costs under $75 for tolls, parking, taxis, local bus, and subway. For further details on receipt requirements for travel, please ask your supervisor. Click Add Attachment. Click Browse. Select your attachment. Click Upload. If you have other attachments, you can add more attachments by repeating the previous 3 steps. If complete, click OK. A typical expense report will have multiple expense lines to represent all travel expenses that were made during the travel. Complete a line for each expense of the trip. When you are done, click Submit. When the Submit button is clicked, the expense report is saved, set to budget check, and submitted into the agency approval workflow. You have successfully completed creating an expense report in SFS using a blank report.